SMSL sent me their new A50 Pro amplifier to review, and at first I thought, oh great, another Class D amp. But then I realized that the A50 Pro isn't like the other amps I reviewed here on this channel. Now that got me pretty excited to jump into this review until I stumbled on a few things that really confused me. Now this isn't your normal Class D amp, friends, so let's jump right into it. The first thing I noticed when unboxing the A50 Pro was there was an HDMI ARC input, which I thought was kind of cool. I was then very surprised to see that this unit doesn't even have an RCA connection option. Just what kind of amplifier is this? Subscribers to my channel will know that I've reviewed plenty of small Class D 2-channel stereo amplifiers from the likes of Fozzy Audio, IEMA, Duke, and the like. But it was when I was digging into the A50 Pro that I really began to realize that this wasn't an amplifier made for a typical 2 or 2.1 channel stereo system, but rather home theater. Now at this point, you may not be interested at all in seeing a review on a home theater amplifier such as the A50 Pro, but stick around because I'm really looking for your feedback on this amp because there's a couple features that SMSL included, and I know these companies watch these reviews and read comments to see if these features are a plus or a minus with consumers. And I'd love to get your feedback in the comments as I go through some of these features that surprised me and see if you like them or dislike them, because I think that will give good feedback for SMSL as they develop future products down the road. The A50 Pro is just $90, which seems like a steal when you consider typical pricing for home theater receivers or even soundbars. Now, SMSL included 2 Infineon amplifier chips in this design, along with high-pass and low-pass filters and even EQ settings. The front of the unit has a display where you can see volume level and option controls. The volume knob can be short-pressed, and that's how you cycle through all of the options. However, I found that this whole process was done a lot easier using the included remote control. The rear of the unit is where things get really interesting for me. The unit can handle a Bluetooth 5.0 connection that I easily connected to and had no trouble using. It comes with a variety of other inputs, including USB, HDMI, and optical. Now, the first thing that confused me with this amp was I couldn't locate any traditional RCA inputs to connect any of my sources like a external DAC or even my turntable to. And to be honest, I first thought I couldn't connect those sources at all until I noticed this line input here. Now, most likely this was included this way to save space. So if you buy this amp, make sure you have plenty of RCA to 3.5 millimeter cables lying around. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like only having a 3.5 millimeter input like this? Or do you prefer to have an old-fashioned RCA connection? The amp has connections for one set of speakers, but this is another thing that really confused me. It has a connection for a passive subwoofer. Now, I personally do not use a passive subwoofer, and I'm curious how many of you do. I just assume that active subs are more popular than passive ones, but let me know if I'm wrong. Honestly, I wish SML had included a line output for those of us using active subs. Now, since I don't have a passive sub, I simply connected one of my Emotiva bookshelves here, and I can confirm the low end is being passed through as designed. I just wish I could have tested this unit with a passive sub, as I think SMSL added a lot of features such as adjustable volume control, which would have added even more listening pleasure, especially when I was watching movies. As I mentioned earlier, SMSL included 2 Infineon chips, the MA12070P, which provides 70 watts per channel into 4 ohms and 100 watts into 2 ohms for the subwoofer. So if you do the math for 8 ohms, you're not getting a ton of power here, but keep in mind you're also only paying $90. Now here's the great news. This unit worked perfectly in my system. I had no issues with it whatsoever. No weird pops when powering off or on, no weird volume control issues, all those things that I like to look out for when reviewing a product. Bluetooth was easy to connect to, and my TV was easy to connect to via HDMI. Simply put, everything works exactly like it should. Now, overall, the sound for music was great when listening with the A50 Pro. In fact, I even preferred the A50 Pro over the Yamaha soundbar that I normally use for TV audio because, generally speaking, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to listening to TV audio. I've kind of put all my money into my stereo system, but the A50 Pro handled the TV audio great. Now, keep in mind, this also comes with built-in EQ presets, so you can cycle through those to change the sound as you would like. I didn't really use those presets as much as I just went ahead and adjusted the EQ myself via bass and treble to get everything sounding just how I liked it. But again, this brings me back to my one main issue here, which is that I could not pair a sub with the A50 Pro because I don't have a passive subwoofer. And again, the music I listen to, and especially the movies with my TV playback, would have sounded so much better if I had had a passive sub to be able to connect to the A50 Pro. The one amp I have in-house that I could compare the A50 Pro to is the Arylic H50, which I've also reviewed on my channel. The H50 might have the analog and subwoofer connectivity I was looking for at $140, but the A50 Pro simply sounds so much better than the Arylic. Also, the H50 here has an annoying pop when you power it on, and the A50 does not. The A50 just sounds bigger, and the H50, in my opinion, sounds way too thin and left a lot to be desired. So the A50 Pro at $90 is my choice over the $140 Arylic. Overall, I think the A50 Pro is a very interesting amplifier. I think this would be perfect for someone looking to upgrade the sound from their TV from a soundbar to regular speakers. The small form factor means you can fit it almost anywhere. I'm just curious how many consumers will pass on this little amp because they own an active sub and don't have an interest in buying a passive one to pair with the A50 Pro. Again, I think if SMSL had included an output option for an active subwoofer, this would be an easy amp to recommend. But for now, I can really only recommend this to someone who either has no interest in owning a subwoofer or is someone that will buy a passive subwoofer later on down the road and they just want to get in with a great price like this $90 SMSL A50 Pro. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I also reviewed the Arylic H50, an amplifier that's similar to the A50 Pro, but does have a few more options that actually you would think would make it a better performer than the A50 Pro. But overall, I discovered 4 things that I thought could be improved on with that amp. If you're interested in learning more about the H50 from Arylic, you can do so by watching this video here.